There's a report out of London over the weekend suggesting at least 4,000 Shias loyal to the anti-American cleric Muqtada al-Sadr are receiving training at a terrorist training camp near Tehran.
The amount of training and equipment that Iran is pouring in support of not only, by the way, the Mahdi army and Shiite militias, but also providing military assistance to the Sunni insurgents. Iran has made a calculated decision to kick the United States out of Iraq as quickly as possible, if they can do so, in order to protect itself from any American effort to stop its nuclear weapon development.
Developing tonight, bombings in Afghanistan are on the rise, and the Pentagon says Iran is at least partly to blame.
The Pentagon has also said this week they now have evidence that Iran may be supplying not just Shia groups in Iraq, but also Sunnis. They say that they got this from recent interviews with detainees in Iraq. All of this showing that Iran is trying to destabilize now 2 countries in the region, according to U.S. generals.
They believe that there's a direct Iranian connection to this. Al-Qaeda is actually functioning, at the very least, getting a blind eye as they can function and plan and plot with Iran looking on. Now, Iran used to, for a while, feel as though they were at odds with al-Qaeda, but they also seem to hold a lot of higher-ups within al-Qaeda in their country. They claim are on house arrest. Together, they have one goal, though. I mean, obviously, they don't like Britain, and they love to make a huge impact, but they never leave their fingerprints on anything.
If there is some involvement of Iran, and some of the early press stories here have suggested that, because Iran has nuclear materials, if not yet a bomb, that would be a pretty good reason, I would think, for everybody to start paying attention to the possibility that it may not be that the Sunnis are always opposed to the Shia and the Shia to the Sunnis and the secular to both and so forth. But there's an old Middle Eastern saying, me against my brother, me and my brother against our cousin, me, my brother, and our cousin against the stranger.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?
Right. But they could be working together against us. If Iran is playing together with al-Qaeda and the residual Ba'athists in Iraq or others to facilitate some of these things, it's a real threat to the West and Western Europe and ultimately to us.
The top U.S. commander in Iraq speaking out, saying the situation there is made worse by Iran.
The one thing I'm wondering, Martha, here is that the Saudis have been calling for the Iranians to return a number of jihadists, probably al-Qaeda operatives, to Saudi Arabia. The Saudis believe that a number of attacks in Saudi Arabia have been orchestrated by al-Qaeda out of Iran.
Yeah, Neil, one of bin Laden's stated goals has been to bring down the Saudi regime and cripple the oil industry. The news of this massive arrest is raising questions about whether al-Qaeda operatives under house arrest in Iran are part of the operation.
These al-Qaeda operatives in Iran today may also be behind this current plot, but this is very serious. You're talking about people abroad being training in aircraft to fly into either buildings in a 9/11 style attack or into oil refineries.
And though the investigation is far from complete, some analysts question whether Iran may have a role in this case because several senior al-Qaeda members are being held by that country.
It is not a civil war. There is some sectarian violence between Sunni and Shia, most of it being stirred up by the Iranians.
So, you know, it's interesting because you say that it doesn't matter that much whether or not bin Laden is alive or dead, given the fact that you feel that he's been marginalized to a certain extent by A, the war on terror, and B, the rising influence of Iran in international terrorism, right?
Both those factors are correct. And so now you've got the Iranians who are literally holding many of the al-Qaeda Sunni leadership, not to say hostage, but they're supporting them inside Iran, and they are really controlling both Shia and Sunni activities inside Iraq, and they're also funding a lot of the activities of the so-called al-Qaeda in the Balkans, particularly in Kosovo, linked directly to the people who tried to stage the Fort Dix attacks just recently.
Well, weapons from Iran are following across the nation's border into another in Afghanistan.
There have been indications over the past few months of weapons coming in from Iran. We do not have any information about whether the government of Iran is supporting this, is behind it, or whether it's smuggling or exactly what's behind it.
What's clear is that a major conflict is emerging in the region between Iran and its agents and the rest of the region. Its agents, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in the Palestinian Authority areas and the extremists in Iraq. And what I said is that our military has been making clear for months now that the Iranians are training and equipping extremists to come into Iraq, and they are killing with explosive devices a lot of Americans and Iraqis. And this is all about protecting the lives of the American soldiers who are there for us. People say they support our troops. The Iranians are enabling others to kill American soldiers with explosive devices that the Iranians are providing and training terrorists to use. We can't let them continue to get away with that.